Hi there, welcome to the Silverbird Selection game review. Before we get on to the review, you might recall, if you've been watching this series since the start, that I've been working through the alphabet with my game reviews. I started at the beginning of this series with the letter B, and I've gradually worked through, and this time around we'll be looking at a game beginning with the letter Z. Now after that I'm going to play one more game beginning with the letter A, simply because I didn't have a game beginning with the letter A when I started this series, and then I need a new way of deciding what games to play next. So what I've decided to do is, at the end of each review from now on, I'll give you guys a chance to pick from one of two games, and whichever one you vote for or make a comment about in the comments saying you want me to play, the one that gets the most votes, I'll play that the next time around. So at the end of this episode there'll be the chance to choose one of two games. I won't be reviewing that next time, it will be the time after, and well, then at the end of the next review I'll give you another two games to choose from, and so on until we get through all these games, or I get bored and decide to do things a different way. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. Hopefully you'll stick around to the end of the episode so you can influence my decision making process. Let's get on with the game review for this time, and the game I'm looking at this time is Zolyx. It's a Silver Range release from 1987. Very common game to find on eBay. Quite desirable though, copies tend to go for £4 or more. Luckily I found my copy for £2.50, so another bargain there. So let's take a look at the packaging for Zolyx and load the game up and see how it plays. Let's take a look at the packaging then, and to be honest it's not one of the better Silver Range offerings. You've got the big Zolyx logo there bursting out of the screen with lots of rainbow colours behind it, and then basically just a load of balls on a red background. And the Zolyx logo is also on the spine, but without the rainbow explosion stuff. On the back cover, a couple of screenshots which are fairly unremarkable. And the description of the game, very simply, make your mark and sort out a real mess, which doesn't give you any indication of what the game's like at all. One thing to note though is that this did get a sizzler from Zap, and that's been printed on the back cover as well. Inside we've got the usual list of games available in the Silver Range, and then the mail order info. Let's move on, shall we? You've seen enough of that by now. So there you can see Zolyx is copyright 1987 Zoltan T. That's Zoltan Tas, I believe. I think he's a Hungarian guy that programmed this, and I'm suggesting that the Zolyx is sort of derived from his own name, given his name Zoltan. So as you can see there, it says Zolyx is a game that will immediately grab your attention and have you glued to your monitor for months to come. With multiple levels and countless numbers of perpetually moving balls, your playing aptitude will be severely tested. We've got the loading instructions, and then the gameplay instructions there. Play with the joystick, run, stop, pause of the game. The object is to fill in 75% of the screen by creating sections of blocks while at the same time avoiding the balls, which suggests that it's going to be a Kix clone, a clone of the arcade game from Taito. It was released in the early 80s. Contact with any of the balls will result in the loss of life. On the first level there are 3 balls for the screen, so on and so forth. The direction of the balls can be reversed by pressing the fire button. This can be used once on the first level and an additional time for each level completed. And a bonus is awarded for every 1% above 75% of the screen filled in. So yeah, very similar gameplay style to Kix by the looks of it. We'll see when the game loads whether that's the case. So here you can see the loading screen, which just has the word Zolyx in very big swirly letters, and lots of little creatures bouncing around with little eyes and horns and things, which I believe are not entirely representative of the in-game graphics at all, in fact not whatsoever. Also a nice Firebird logo in the bottom right corner there. It's not an amazing loading screen, but it is a loading screen nonetheless. The game's loaded then, and you're presented with this very simplistic screen with the word Zolyx at the top there, and the sort of signature of the developer there in the bottom right, Zoly87, which is actually in the border that usually isn't used by the game, so there's a bit of programming trickery been done there. And then you've just got this blue square box or blue rectangle with lots of little balls bouncing around in it. And that's pretty much it. You don't see any kind of credits for the game other than that signature in the corner. There's no music on the title screen, if you can even call it that. There is what looks like a high score thing at the top right there, so we'll see how that goes in a moment. So let's get on with the game. And as predicted, it is a Kix clone. As you can see, you draw the boxes and you've got to fill in at least 75% of the screen. You've got to avoid getting hit by any of the little white dots, the little white balls, which I just didn't. Obviously when you're drawing a box, just like in kicks, if the white balls hit you, then you lose a life. Also they can just crash into you as well, so you don't have the big sort of swirly thing that's in the game Kicks, if you're familiar with that you have to trap. Instead you've just got to avoid these balls while you're filling in the space. And there's also no fast and slow drawing for different scoring levels like there is in Kicks, and you don't have to hold down fire to start drawing a line either. You just push out into the area which hasn't already got something drawn in it, and you'll start drawing a box. If you go back on yourself, again, unlike Kicks, if you go back on yourself you immediately lose a life. You don't get the little thing chasing you down the trail you've drawn, so that can be slightly annoying. I will see, well I may as well show you because I'm not having a very good go at the game now. There you go, you can see that you can just get collided with directly. And the other thing is you can go around inside the boxes you've already drawn, rather than down the lines that you've drawn like you can in Kicks. So although on the face of it it's very similar, there's actually quite a lot of differences between this and the original arcade game. So just to show what I mean, just to kill myself off here and then I'll play more seriously, if I start drawing a line here and then go back on myself, immediately you lose a life and that's game over. So there is a high score table as you can see there. I won't bother putting my name in for that go. Let's just go again and try and do it a bit more seriously. And the one other thing you can do is press fire to change the direction of the balls. I'll do that when an appropriate time comes. So one thing you can do to start with is split the balls into different areas, and then you can work on those areas to try and fill in the space that you need to. So one technique that works with Kicks is just to draw these columns, and then eventually something will get stuck down those columns. Unfortunately the other one's going around the edge and bouncing around all over the place at the moment. Oh, that's annoying. Yeah, so, and then when something goes down one of the columns you can draw a gap across it and that'll again section stuff off. So that's my strategy for that. I can then start drawing the boxes with less risk of getting hit by the various things that are bouncing around, although I keep getting hit by the ones going around the edge at the moment, annoyingly. Sometimes they don't get you though, it's a bit random that. Oh, okay, that's interesting. That must be a bug because that's trapped the guy right in the middle there, and he should have still been in a space that he could occupy. But anyway, never mind. We'll carry on. So in terms of graphics and sound effects, graphics are very basic. It's basically just some white dots and some blue squares, and sounds is just the noise of those dots bouncing off stuff. So yeah, not much in the way of graphics and sound here. So here I want to try and get a nice big area filled in. So if I go across like this, there you go, that's filled in 79%. So anything more than 75% you get a bonus for. So the idea is really to get 80% or more to get as many points as possible. As you can hear, there's a now annoying squeaking sound going on until I go to the next level, which is exactly the same except for one more dot. So yeah, there's not much more to it than that. There's no different enemies that appear as you get to later stages as far as I can tell. And there's no other things going on other than what you've already seen. It's not even a change of colours, it's just draw the boxes and they'll always be blue. So yeah, it's interesting that the things that go around the edge can run around inside your boxes. There goes another life. I'm not really paying enough attention to this at the moment, so I'll probably still have another go, even though there's not a lot to talk about. Okay, so that's got them all separated out quite nicely. Let's see if we can work on reducing the space that they're occupying now. There we go, it's a bit of that one gone, we're up to 60%, bit of that one gone. This is the sort of tactic for filling as much in as possible. Always leaving the biggest space till last. So now if I time this right as he goes to the top there, I should get about 80%. There we go. That's the strategy I've come up with for getting as high a score as possible on this game. Also, filling a box in every corner seems to be a good strategy to start building stuff up. Sometimes you'll get the dots going around the side sort of trapped in those boxes, which is quite helpful because it just sort of keeps them in one place. Right, so hopefully if I time this right I can draw a line down the middle. Right, I just used the fire button there to reverse the direction. That's worked out quite nicely for me, as now I've only got one on this side, so I should be able to trap him in quite a small box if I can time it right. Wait for him to come back around this side. Oh, that was an opportunity missed there. Okay, he's going to go back down there. There we go. Filled in a nice box there. So there's quite things like that happen a lot. You just somehow end up in the path of the little ones bouncing around the blue area and end up getting hit by them more often than not. It's a little bit annoying, but I mean, I suppose it's fair because you've just got to keep an eye on everything that's bouncing around really, but it's pretty crazy. Let's see if we can box these guys in a little bit. Now, there's a nice space. If we can get one in there. There we go. And get one at the top here. Oh, they're following a similar path now, so I might be able to do something about that. Okay. Here we go. This is what I'm going to try and do, is get these two in here. There we go. And there we go, on to the next level. I don't think I've lost a life yet, amazingly. Or maybe you get an extra life every time you complete a level, and that's why I've got a ton of lives at the moment. Oh, that one got me though. Didn't manage to press the fire button in time to turn it around. Okay, so I should be able to separate these guys off into two boxes. You get the idea now what I'm trying to do. There's not much more to say about it. There's nothing to say about the graphics and sound because they're pretty much nothing, nothing of note, but it is a very playable, addictive sort of game. I do find myself having another go over and over and over again just to try and beat my previous score. Oh, there goes another life. Keep forgetting about pressing the button to reverse the direction, although that's not necessarily always going to help. It's going to depend on where the other dots are. Okay, so we should be able to trap at least one in this box here. Oh, nope, mistimed that. Let's go across there. There we go, that'll do for another stage. And on we go to the next one. Oh, I wasn't paying any attention to the ones bouncing around the main game area there at all. There we go. That's the sort of thing you've got to do. Obviously, as it progresses, it gets more difficult because there's more and more dots bouncing around. What am I on? Stage 4 here, and we've got about 6 dots going, is there? Something like that. So yeah, it does get pretty crazy. Oh, I thought I'd reversed them then. That's a bit annoying. One life left, I think. Oh, what was I doing there? I did not mean to go that way, and then when I pushed back the way I came, oh, that's not fair, I got crashed into. Okay, so that's game over. Oh, and I've missed the chance to enter my name now as well, but there you go, 70,193 points. That's probably the best I've done on the game, so at least I did it while I was recording this video. Literally nothing else to say about the game, and I'm sure you don't want to watch me play another round of it, so let's get on with the scoring. So, it's a bit of an interesting one, this, because clearly most of it's just not that good looking or sounding, so packaging was pretty uninspiring. I'm going to give that 6 out of 10. Pretty basic instructions, and the image on the front cover was not great either. Presentation, probably being a little bit generous, but I'm going to give it a 6 as well. I mean, it's got a high score table, shows you the high score on the screen here as well, and it had a loading screen. It's fairly nicely presented, although still quite unremarkable. Graphics are just some boxes and dots, so I can't really give it more than a 5. I mean, it's functional, it works, but there's really no sort of spectacular graphics about it, so 5 out of 10 is the best I can give it. Similarly for the sound, again, it's functional, it does the job, but there isn't really much of it, so I'm going to go 4 out of 10 for sound. And then we get to playability, and I'm a little bit in two minds on this one because it's definitely very playable, it's addictive, it's a good high score challenge, but there are a couple of things about it that I don't like, which is mainly that sometimes you can't judge when the dots are going to hit you and wipe out a life, and also the fact that going back on yourself is an instant life lost is a little bit annoying as well. But I think there's enough about it to make it addictive, and so I'm actually going to give it 8 out of 10 for playability. Even though it's got some flaws, I think they're outweighed by the addictiveness of the game, and that is what really matters, I suppose. So that gives Zolyx an overall score of 6.8, which you might think is a little bit harsh, but it's obviously because of the low scores for the graphics and sound. But despite the graphics and sound issues, I think there's no doubt that it's definitely worth the $1.99 asking price. Very addictive game, as I said. So that's pretty much it. That's my review of Zolyx. If you've played it before and have got any thoughts about it, whether you agree with my thoughts or not, then do let me know in the comments. So as I mentioned at the start of the video, I'm giving you guys the chance to choose which game I play next. Well, not actually next, but next but one, because the next game I'll play will begin with the letter A, because I didn't have any games beginning with the letter A when I started this run through the alphabet. So the game after that you're going to choose now, and it's going to be a platform game. I'm usually going to choose a theme for the 2 games that you get to pick from. So I haven't played any platform games really so far during this series, so I thought we'd start with a platform game. So the 2 games I'm giving you to choose from are Ollie and Lisa or Spiky Harold. So if you've played either of those games and you want me to play them, then let me know in the comments. And even if you haven't played them, then let me know in the comments. And if I don't get a decisive decision, then I'll use the Lemon64 user rating to determine which one I choose to play next. So hopefully you'll enjoy getting involved with choosing which games I play next. I hope you enjoyed the review of Zolyx as well. I'll be back within the next few days with my final review of the alphabet run through, and then we'll get on with the game that you choose out of those 2 games I just showed you. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.